Dear viewers, this is another Monday, another beautiful Monday. We are gathered here so that we can talk, a little more about our family. Um, this is a program, Family Life. Family Life touches on every member of the family and every phase that families go through. Family members go through individually and also as a collective, as a family. My name is Silas Kiriinya. I'm a counseling psychologist and also the CEO of Amazon Counseling Center. Now, I promised last week that today we will be focusing on the stages or the phases of relationship. How does the relationship grow from one stage to the other? Oftentimes we hear people saying, you don't love me with the love that you loved me at first. Look, it actually looks like what the Bible says in Revelation. The first love is like you've lost it. And so I hear people complaining that. But what is that? What is that they refer to? That first love. And so I think today we'll be able to touch on that. There are also other questions. How do I know that now we are serious? We can actually now move on. I can introduce this person to my parents, my friends, my family members, my colleagues. At what point? I think we'll be touching on that today. But there are so many other questions also that we ask. So why is it that probably even we have gotten married, we have been together for 3, 4, 5 years, but we seem to have a lot of conflicts. We don't agree on anything. Like whatever it is that I suggest, this person will put it down. Now, we're going to touch on that today, and I think your questions will be answered. So if you're following us live on Facebook, Maria Nairobi, Radio Maria Nairobi, if you're following us on Facebook, you can talk to us. You can ask us any question, we'll be able to answer. You can make your contribution. It is necessary for us to be in touch with each other so that this is really more helpful. You can share with your friends as well so that they are able to know that there is such a program that changes our lives, that builds families, and brings the family back to the family which was in the mind of God. So I will start straight away with a quote from Catechism of the Catholic Church, number 2395. 2395. And it says, love is the fundamental and an innate vocation of every human being. Love is the fundamental and innate vocation of every human being. What that means, it basically means that love is the foundation of everything, but also it is born in us. That's why we're calling the word innate. It is born in us. It's like the moment we are born, it is infused in us. So in every human being, even those that you think are terrible, they don't want to be loved, they don't want to laugh. Those that have no kind word in their vocabulary, even those ones, they are called to love. And actually are the foundation of everything, the deepest part of them, they crave for love. There are some studies that have been done and actually show that those people who are in prison, oftentimes they're in prison because they lack love, genuine love. Love from parents, from people who valued them, and therefore as they were trying to fight for their love, at times they found themselves in the wrong side of the law. And so that's why they're in prison. And so it is the fundamental, like everybody actually desires to be loved, and also there is a desire to love. Of course, that can be somehow obscured along the way, and I think in one of the presentation today I'll be able to touch on that. So let's go straight away to the stages. I call them the 5 stages to mature and romantic relationship. 5 stages to mature and romantic relationship. Now, I'm focusing only on romantic relationship, not any other relationship, not a business relationship, not even though we are talking about the romantic relationship, we are not referring to those relationships that are against nature. We are referring to a relationship where a man loves a woman or a woman loves a man and they want to begin a relationship together, go through all the stages of relationship so that they can actually get to a point where there is enjoyment of it is that they have. So I'll begin by saying that just as we expect anything that bears fruit to mature through some developmental kind of stages. So is also romantic relationship. The relationship grows from a relationship of a stranger or relationship of strangers to the most intimate friendship of love in a committed marriage. It's a relationship that grows where you meet two strangers, I don't know you, you don't know me. And so we start a relationship of two strangers, but it grows and drives to a moment where we get to the most mature, intimate friendship of love in a committed marriage. That is all that we desire, all of us. And so stage number one, I call it attraction and romance. Attraction and romance. Stage number one, attraction and romance. Now, in this stage for me, I usually call it animal stage. Animal stage. It's an animal stage. Why? Because it is a biological stage, a stage where there is attraction of, the chemical changes in my body, whereby now I get attracted to you, and I can get attracted to anything. Because we usually say the importance of the body, especially, I remember when you were doing anthropology, one of the things that we were trying to define is the human body. And so we're saying that human body is the presence, is our presence in the universe, is what makes us present to each other. And so at this stage of attraction and romance is a stage where we are present to each other. So I can be attracted to anything. And there's nothing wrong with being attracted by your eyes, being attracted by your body, your hips, your legs, your nails, your hair, your everything, your teeth, the way you speak, your voice, your all that. Actually, there is no problem with that, because as we define it, it is our way of being present to each other. So I can get attracted to you by just something very simple that probably others do not see. It can be even your ears. It can be your nose. It can be anything. It's a wonderful thing. So it's important to realize that this is an animal stage. It's a biological stage. It's a chemical stage. It's a stage where there's a lot of, chemistry going on. And that's why, for example, we say, for example, you meet someone and you feel the hot rush going through your body. You just met them like you've never seen them before. And I remember, for me, when I met my wife now, we were in a church activity, function. And so she was reading the Word of God. And she read the Word of God, and from there, I just felt like, wow. This is the person that I'm looking for. I was looking for someone who is nice, good, of course, attractive, and everything else. And also looking for someone who loves Jesus. And from the way she read the Word of God, I could tell she has a connection with Jesus. She was not just reading because she knows English, but she was really committed and connected to what she was reading. And after that, we didn't meet each other. I just saw her. And then 2 years, I think, down the line, I was in another activity and I saw her. But this time round, I just thought I should talk to her. Just led by that animal part. That doesn't mean I wasn't a Christian. I was a very strong Christian. And I believed in chastity, by the way. All the way, even up to marriage. And so, but then this animal part was the only way to move me from my own self to the other person. So we call it animal stage. So oftentimes we also see this stage happening during the dating stage. I think we discussed dating last week on Monday. So this happens during the dating time. It is the moment that your partner is perfect, like is an angel. Actually, we call each other even angels, sweet names, all those beautiful things at this moment. It's a wonderful stage to be in. Now, what happens here is a stage of patency and also a stage of honeymoon, where you don't see anything that is faulty with your friend or your partner or your girlfriend or your boyfriend. You idolize them. Like they look like God to you. They have no mistake at all. And even when sometimes you sit down and tell the other, now I want to tell me my mistakes and all my weaknesses so that now I can work on myself. And you realize there is nothing. You try to imagine there is nothing. Now, at this stage also, we know very well it doesn't last long. And actually, oftentimes, when people ask each other, let's say, for example, they have been together for 20 years, you hear someone saying, you don't love me the way you loved me. Yes, of course, if you defined love from that stage of animal, which is a stage of attraction and romance, then you would say that this person doesn't love you because they don't chase you as they were chasing you before. They don't feel the hot rush, happening in their body when they see you. It's not the same. It has developed probably to a moment of commitment, which I think I will be able to touch on later on. But I just want you to understand that this is an animal stage. It's just a biological presentation. By the way, at this point, there is no difference, and this is in no offense. There is no difference between you, a cow, and you at that moment. When it is a mating season, it just feels the same way between an animal and also a human being at that point. There is no so much reasoning. So we don't exercise reasoning. It is chemistry that actually leads us. So wherever chemistry wants us to be, we will be exactly there. And we'll make sure we facilitate that moment to be there. Now, there are of course some other things that I think are very important in this stage. One is a stage where we focus on resemblance. So we don't touch on anything that brings in a difference. We look at what resembles either the man or woman that I have in my mind, and that is exactly what I see in you. The second thing is people spend a lot of time together. And because of spending a lot of time together, you lose what we call individuality. Because you like what your partner likes. If, for example, like I remember my wife then was not taking fish. And I'm a good cook, so I love cooking, and you only realize from time to time I'll try something new. And so one day I took her somewhere, we took a fish, and I realized she wasn't happy about it. And so I asked her, I thought you would enjoy this, because I took her to one of the best places. And then she gives me a story about how she ate fish the first time. That whoever cooked just chemushad, just boiled fish, and then served fish and the soup together, and no salt. So you can imagine. So that was our experience. And so this time round she couldn't try. And for me, I'm taking her to the best places, where I knew that she was going to enjoy. But anyway, when we settled, I actually prepared now. One day she visited me, I prepared fish for her, and I can tell you, she enjoyed. And so we decided now every Friday we'll be meeting so that we can buy fish and enjoy together. And from that time till now, she still likes the fish. So what I'm saying is, at this moment, we spend a lot of time together. We lose individuality. So for her, she lost her individuality. She turned actually to my side and started liking fish, just like I liked fish, and I like it even up to today. So you can lose individuality. Now, it's also a stage where there is no conflict. The focus is not on conflict. The focus is on love. The focus is not the chemistry that you feel. Now, what are the dangers of this stage? Now, if you engage in some practices at this very stage, for example, like sex, at this stage, it can actually, it can easily obscure your ability to discern and get to know whether this is the real person or not. Because just like I said, there is no difference between you and a cow at that stage. And so, if that is the case, it means then what you feel is what you follow. There is no so much reasoning. And so it's important to actually stay away, if you can, from sex, and that is what we teach even as a church. And it's important. It's also biblical, actually. Biblical. If you look at Tobit chapter 8, verses 7, we hear Tobias, is it Tobias or Tobit? One of them, Tobias, I think. So he is the one who is praying for Sarah, the lady that he had met, the son of Raguel, and the daughter of Raguel, the lady who, and every male that came to court her and they would spend the night with her, they would always die. And so Tobias who came, and when he came, he spoke to her, and of course all that, and then finally he says this prayer. Now, not with lust, but with fidelity, I take this king's woman as my wife. Note those ones clearly. Now, not with lust, but with fidelity, I take this king's woman as my wife. Send down your mercy on me and her, and grant that we may grow old together. It's not lust, it is fidelity, it is faithfulness. The faithfulness that he had kept through and through in his life is the same faithfulness that he's sharing with his wife. And so he's saying, he is also asking God's mercy to come down upon them so that they will be protected and grow old together. And that growing old together for me is what we are touching on when we are touching the stages of relationship, how the relationship grows, is so that you can get there and grow together. There is also something that is key here, that when we engage ourselves into sexual activities again, we can easily get influenced into the wrong direction. Because, for example, some some people are so good in this act, and so you can judge love according to that sexual act. And if you judge love according to that, then the thing is, you will not be able to see every other thing that is in the life of that person. You'll not be able to see their values. You'll not be able to see what it is they like, what it is that they don't like. You just focus on that act. And one of the things that I know also, even as I do therapy, there are many young girls who will come and tell me the only way to prove to a man is by sleeping with them and show them that I'm good in this area. Now, there's time for that. There's time to show all that. And just like I said, it's an animal stage. You have to develop and get to a level that you're actually able to see value in the person, or you can also communicate your values. Other than communicating your body, other than communicating how you can do it, you can go deeper and communicate your values. Communicate to them how you value fidelity, how you value faithfulness, how you value trust. Communicate that. And the other, in the session we had on Monday, I was able to share with you the number of things that you can do during dating. You don't have to just sleep with each other. And so at this point, it allows you to grow. Of course, even the Catechism of the Catholic Church also advises us in this area. Number 2361 tells us that sexuality, by means of which man and woman give themselves to one another through the acts which are proper and exclusive to spouses, it's not something simply biological. Now I think you get me. It's not something simply biological. Meaning, if I feel it, I do it. But we don't do that even with other things anyway. We meet people and we don't like them. We feel like punching them. We don't just punch them all the time when we meet them. Some other times you have really a good appetite and you're hungry and you see some very good food, from your neighbor's table. You don't just get in there and start eating the neighbor's food. Some other times you feel tired and there's an exam coming up. You don't just say, let me sleep and forget about the exam. We somehow control ourselves. So at this moment, that's why we are not, we are saying it is not something simply biological. We are saying it is not something simply biological, it goes beyond, but concerns the innermost being of a human person as such. It is realized in a truly human way only if it is an integral part of the love by which a man and a woman commit themselves totally to one another until death. So the act of love comes only when you commit yourselves totally to each other until death. It's not a stage where you're trying. For example, there is what people call right to a trial marriage. Right to a trial marriage. I mean, you have a right to try it, to look at it and get to know whether this person is okay and all these other things. Yes, you want to do all that, but it's not the right time to do it now. It is the animal part, it's the animal stage, a stage where it's just chemicals that are taking place. And actually there is no commitment at this stage. So if you want to give yourself, at this point you can give yourself, but then it is a problem later on. So the Catechism of Catholic Church still tells us in 2391, some today claim a right to a trial marriage, where there is an intention of getting married later. So you haven't decided to get married, you settle down, you probably even living in the same room, enjoying all the rights that married people enjoy, but then you're just trying. You're not sure. However firm the purpose of those who engage in premature sexual relationships may be, the fact is that such relations can scarcely ensure mutual sincerity and fidelity in a relationship between a man and a woman, nor especially can they protect it from inconsistency of desires of whim. Carnal union is morally legitimate only when a definitive community of life between a man and a woman has been established. Human love does not tolerate trial marriages. It demands a total and definitive gift of person to one another. So marriage the way it is and human love the way it is, it demands a total and definitive gift of person to one another. You give yourself entirely to the other person. So the moment you get into sexual activity, it means you have already agreed to move on. And that's why the church now gives the sacrament, which actually initiates. And because even after you marry, the church says that the marriage has not taken place. Like it's not all binding until you consummate. So the consummation part is where now a woman and a man, they meet. And when they meet, they enjoy that sexual act, and that makes actually completes the sacrament. I met some couples a few days ago, and they have a lot of heights, inconsistency in their relationship, because maybe from the moment that they began their relationship, they did not commit themselves fully, and so they have gotten to a moment that they don't like each other, and they have been together for like 3 years. Actually, they mentioned 4 years without any conjugal activities taking place. 3 years, and they are living in the same room, in the same bed, 3 years. None of them was a biological problem. None of them were sick, but because they emotionally wounded. So it's important actually you get there only when you are certain that you have committed yourself fully, and if possible, in front of a community. Number 2, reality. So stage number 2 in the growth of relationship is what we call reality stage. What reality stage means is that now you have moved from the animal part, you're sitting down and looking at your spouse or partner, and your potential partner, maybe that's what I should call them at this point. So you look at your potential partner and you realize everything is not chemistry. Maybe they like this, I don't like that. You start seeing some realities that you never saw before. And this starts now causing conflict within. So this stage is characterized with a lot of wonder and realization of behaviors of your partner you did not see before. So there's a lot of wonder. There's no communication, as in you're not talking about these things that you're observing at this point of reality. What you're doing is the reality is setting in slowly by slowly. You're able to see that this man sleeps a lot. It's not like what you're used to, your father that would wake up every day at 4:30 in the morning. Now this guy sleeps even until 10, and he doesn't want to go and work. So you can imagine that situation. and so you start wondering, what kind of person is this? You go to the supermarket with them, and they want to buy everything else, including those things that they have no need of. And so you start wondering, I mean, you don't have saving skills? You realize that this person just focuses on partying. So for them, it's partying all the time. And for you, yes, you want to party once in a while, but also you want to really settle and be serious about what it is that you want to achieve in life. So if you're constantly partying, then you start wondering, what is this? Or the one who is partying also realizes the partner doesn't like partying a lot. And so again, another conflict starts setting in. But there isn't anything serious taking place here. What is happening is just observing. So people wonder whether they are still in love with the other. Of course, yes. Because the animal part, the chemistry was there constantly. And so it is the chemistry that was leading you to where you wanted to go. Now, the reason is setting in. and so the reason wants you to think so much about this partner, whether your future will be, won't be compatible together. And so there's a lot of questions. You don't feel like you love them anymore. The chemistry like goes down kidogo, not as it was before. And so you start doubting, do I still love this person? Does this person love me? Sometimes you can see some very selfish behavior. They wake up early in the morning and they prepare a very nice breakfast for them. And you are to meet them maybe probably at 8. And the moment you get into their room, they are telling you, hey, I'm just done with the breakfast. I mean, you couldn't have prepared the breakfast to eat together now that I'm coming to visit you early in the morning. If it's supper, you prepare, supper, you eat early, and, your partner is coming at 7. So it's important you can have this sharing spirit. And so you realize there are a lot of conflict taking place at this moment. So there is a lot of internal conflicts between the biological feelings and also the reality that is setting in. So the conflict that you're experiencing is because of the biological needs that were there, the love that you wanted to have, the love that the other person had showed you or demonstrated to you. Now you're also asking, is this now love a reality, or is it just a feeling that is just expressed? So how you navigate this stage is actually very important, because most people at this point will divorce. I mean, not divorce at that point, because you are still learning each other and loving each other. But I should also say there are people who can marry at first stage. Like people meet, first stage actually is supposed to be maybe between 3 and 6 months, getting to know each other. But there are people I know have been in this stage for 2 years, 3 years, 5 years. So if you're at a stage of biological for 5 years, then you're in trouble, because you're not. It's very difficult to move on to other stages. And my observation, even with the people I've helped, those who have been in animal stage for so long, they actually lose taste with each other somewhere along the way, even before they go to other stages, and they depart and go to other people. Now, kuna watu ambao tunaita mafisi. Sijui kama mnawajua, wanaitwa mafisi. So, hao watu wanakuanga animal stage throughout. They don't move to any other stage. The moment umeanza kuambia tukae chini sasa tukue serious, they move on. They want to move on. They bring issues and they make sure you have ended the relationship, not them. Ili usije kwa laumu useme ati huyu jamaa alikuja kwangu then finally akatoka. There is nothing like that. Huyu jamaa anataka wewe mwenyewe to push you to the corner, uamue useme mimi naondoka. And then sasa marafiki zako and everybody else atawaambia, achana na yule. Yule aliamua mwenyewe, sio mimi. Kuna mambo ambayo tunge agree. Of course this person wanted a more lasting relationship. Lakini wewe nataka ku remain on animal stage. So you have to be very careful, mafisi, yeah? So when reality is setting in, now fisi utamuona. Now ukimuona, you have to tell him outrightly that I see where we are going. We are not going in the right direction. Because our priorities at this point looks like only the animal stage, which animal stage actually helps because it allows vulnerability. Now, the second stage, which I'm calling the reality stage, so you have to navigate it very well so that you can grow in the relationship. Because how you navigate this stage can sometimes depends on the prior experiences with other relationships, whether romantic or bland relationships. So it's a stage that actually depends a lot with where you're coming from. So kama umekuwa na mafisi and then you meet someone mnaingia in that first stage na unaona ni kama ako na tutabia kidogo kama yule mwingine, then you can easily take off. I had one couple I was helping, and so the man was using the word check out. So he checked out. You're together, but he checked out emotionally long time ago. Now, we'll get to stage number 3, but maybe we can have some music now and little break, and then from there we can go on to stage 3, stage 4, and stage 5, then we conclude.